Hello, fourth grade. Today in this video, we are going to talk about how to simplify a fraction. You simplify a fraction by dividing the top and bottom by the GCF, the greatest common factor. So you have to find the greatest common factor of your numerator and your denominator and divide your numerator and denominator by that greatest common factor in order to simplify the fraction. A couple of little tips that can help you when you are simplifying. Look for halves. That means look for fractions that are equal to 1/2, like 6/12, 5/10, 4/8, where your numerator is half of the denominator. Look for fractions where the numerator is 1 less than the denominator, like 3/4. When your numerator is 1 less than the denominator, the fraction is already simplified. Look for fractions where the numerator is a factor for the denominator, because that number will be your GCF. So 2 is a factor for 6. That means the GCF is 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 would be 3. So this would be 1/3. Look for fractions that have a 1 on top. The 1 is the numerator, like 1/10 and 1/12. Those fractions are already simplified. When your greatest common factor is 1, then the fraction is already simplified. When you simplify a fraction, you are finding an equivalent fraction. You are finding a fraction that is equal to your original fraction, which is just like what we did in yesterday's video. But instead of multiplying the numerator and denominator by the same number or by a fraction that's equal to 1 whole, we're going to be dividing the numerator and denominator by a fraction that's equal to 1 whole or by the same number. So remember that you're finding an equivalent fraction. However, your numerator and denominator will be a smaller number. So both of your numbers are going to get smaller. That doesn't mean that the pieces are going to get smaller. Let's watch what happens. We have 6/12 is equal to 1/2. So 6 got smaller, 12 got smaller. So let's see what happens. We have 1/2. This is the simplified fraction. That's a pretty big piece. The original fraction that we were given was 6/12, and it's equivalent to 1/2. But look at the size of the pieces. So we started out with smaller pieces. So just remember, the bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece. If we're making our denominator smaller, that means we're making the piece or the pieces bigger. All right, now we're going to practice. You have a simplifying fractions mat inside your team binder. And if you don't have a dry erase marker, you can just work them out on notebook paper. Just do the best with what you have. And we are going to take the fraction 3. I'm trying to think of one. Let's do 3/12. Now, 3 is a factor for 12, so we could just see how many times 3 goes into 12 and simplify it that way. You could list the factors for your numerator. So we're going to have a factor rainbow for 3. 1 times 3. And the only number on our number line, whole number, left between 1 and 3 would be 2. And 2 is not, you can't multiply 2 by anything to get 3. So that means we are finished factoring 3. Now we're going to factor 12. All right, so we have 1 times 12. 2 is going to work because 12 is even. 2 times 6. All right, is 3 going to work? 3, 6, 9, 12. It is. 3 times 4. Are there any whole numbers left between 3 and 4? No. So that's how you know you are finished with that factor rainbow. All right, now we have to find the greatest common factor. It is 3. So the GCF is 3. Now I'm going to show you one way to do it by dividing, and then I'll show you how you can use your factor rainbows. 3 divided by 3. How many groups of 3 can we get out of 3? 1 group. How many groups of 3 can we get out of 12? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 groups. So 3/12 simplifies to 1/4. All right, you can use your factor rainbows by circling the greatest common factor, which we did. Then you have to circle the factor that is attached to it. So 1 is attached to the 3. And what's attached to this 3? Trace your rainbow arch. It's 4. Now, your greatest common factors will cancel each other out. That was for 3. This rainbow was for 12. So 3/12 becomes 1/4. 2 different ways to solve the same problem. All right, let's simplify. Let me find a good one. Ooh, okay, I got one. Let's do 8/12. 8 is not a factor for 12. So we are going to factor the number 8. 1 times 8. 2 will work because 8 is even. So 2 times 4. All right, 1, 2, what about 3? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Nope. What about 4? We already have 4, so that means we're finished. All right, for 12, 1 times 12. 2 is going to work because 12 is even, so 2 times 6. Will 3 work? 3 times 4. And we're finished. There are no whole numbers left between 3 and 4. Now we have to find the greatest common factor. I like to start with a rainbow that has fewer factors like this one, and then start with your biggest factor. This rainbow has 8. Do we have 8 in this one? No. This rainbow has 4, and this rainbow has 4. So your GCF is 4. How many groups of 4 can we get out of 8? Or 4 times 2 is 8. You can reverse multiply. What times 4 equals 8? 2. If you go back this way, 2 times 4 equals 8. Okay, let's think about this one if we go back this way. Sometimes it's hard to think about the division part. Work backwards. Something times 4 equals 12. Oh, it was 3. So 8/12 will simplify to 2/3. All right, let's use the rainbows. We have our GCFs circled. Let's find the factors that are attached to them. This one is 2. This one is 3. Your GCFs will cancel each other out. And so 8/12 will become 2/3. And they are equivalent guys, 8/12. We'll do that right here. 8/12 and 2/3. They are equivalent. If you cross multiply, you get 24 and you get 24. They are equal to each other. We simplified it by making the numbers smaller, the numerator and the denominator smaller, but we made the pieces bigger. And that is simplifying fractions. All right, guys, I will see you in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.